Okay, we're going to move to the question and answer, the segment of the program. So would the panel members please join me up here at the stage? And, yeah, Doug Cruchon has an announcement.
We have water down here.
For those of you who are activists in the audience, I'm sure you would agree that in our work around fracking, we don't have enough fun a lot of times. So come join us to look and listen to the bards who are going to poke fun at the companies who want to drill in our backyards. These are the poets against fracking, and we're going to have them at the Community Arts of Elmira this coming Friday at 7:30. There'll be an open mic. I'm going to try to get a couple of my own poems about fracking. Never done that publicly before, so this will be fun. But yes, everybody come. Thank you.
Yes, we do need some comic relief in this. Yes, Jane.
Jack, one of the things that I always appreciate about coming and getting new information is also being able to go home and actually have an action plan. Jack mentioned the folks who got arrested chaining themselves to the gates of energy just north of Watkins Glen. In my town, Reading Center, we are trying very hard to stop the infrastructure, because if they don't have the infrastructure, they'll be less likely to come in. So I strongly encourage you to go to gasfreeseneca.com, read the material you find there. If you how many of you like Seneca Lake? Do any of you like Seneca Lake? Would you like to see it remain healthy?
Yeah. Yes.
Consider donating. That is an action plan that you can take that can help to build. We have, what's the name of the law? The Earth Justice is going to represent Gas Free Seneca, but they need to bring in specialists. So we are building a legal fund in order to stop Energy and Arlington, their subsidiary, from bringing in natural gas in addition to the propane and butane. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to request that you ask a question along with your comments, and please. Okay. Woman over here in orange, and then this.
Hi, my name is Kathy Russell. I am a very strong trade union activist and have been since the 70s. I'm also part of the Workers' Center, we struggle for workers' rights. We're in Tompkins County, which is up the road a bit. And I am absolutely thrilled that workers are coming forward from Pennsylvania. I thank you from the very bottom of my heart. And I would like to know what my trade union can do and what the Workers' Rights Union, what the Workers' Rights Center can do to help support you.
Where do you begin? Just making people aware. Like I said, I don't think half these guys who work in the industry are even aware of how dangerous it is or what they're being exposed to. Forums like this, educating the people, I can only do what I can do, and anything I can do, I feel honored to be able to come here to help you guys, because like I said, I don't want to see what happened to us happen to you. What can you do? I don't really know. Just keep at it, keep beating the drum, keep doing what you guys are doing. Like, you know, like I said at the other meeting this time, you know, everybody says don't mess with Texas. Well, I'll tell you what, don't mess with New York, man. And that's really the truth. I mean, that's really the truth. I mean, and it's people like that are committed like you guys that will stop it. You know, if you can push them back, just get it stopped. I'm telling you, you guys have no idea the beast at the door. I mean, you really don't. It's just make people aware, just basically. Really. Wow. I guess not. I need to start opening my mouth more. Yeah, right. Come on now, buddy. Hey, come on now. But like I just said, just keep doing what you're doing and make people aware. Yes, sir.
I identified a couple people over here first. Oh, okay, yes.
This is really the first time that the workers have come forward, and so we're going to try to document what they've said. There are more people who are interested in coming forward, and there's also going to be a website called Gas Vets that
That's
to give information to workers, labor information, violations, whom they could contact NIOSH, and a lot of this information we want to get to NIOSH.
And the other thing that to answer your question on the labor unions and what they can do is we're hoping to get some forums, as I mentioned before, going down at the request of these workers to talk to the people in Pennsylvania as well, because a lot of those folks are scared, they're fearful, gas companies are vengeful and they know it, so there's no avenue for them to hear this kind of message. So if you could get some of the workers that are affiliated with this industry that live in New York that are willing to go down there and speak out about their concerns, I think, especially when you hear these workers that are working 110, 120 hours a week, this is just incredible to me that this industry is exempt from those labor practices of lower hours. Okay, there was a question. Yeah. Nope.
I'd like to elaborate on what he was discussing there about the hours. And the way Colorado did it was they split time. So if you worked 86 hours, they just split your work week. So it's like the state and the oil refinery or the oil industry actually come to grips on it and says, well, they set their own standards, So you only get 6 hours overtime, so that's the way it is. Basically, so the state and the oil refinery or the companies are working together. They don't know, what's going on, but they set the regulations.
Okay. Next question. I think there was somebody right in this area. Yes.
The people that need to hear from the workers are the elected officials. There aren't any here, of course. Mostly our county legislature, our state legislature, our governor. Could you gentlemen who have been in the fields and have these experiences, can you go talk to them?
Yeah, we could, but I was supposed to meet a few weeks ago with Governor Cuomo's Dr. Shaw, and I think, a half hour after he was told that Randy and I were going to meet him at Center City, he canceled.
This is Commissioner of Health.
Running. Yeah.
State Commissioner of Health.
Yeah, what I'd like to do, honestly, is get everybody together, or just me and Randy and a few others, and go to Albany and see him. Okay?
Okay, here, gentleman who raised before, here, and here.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to keep it.
Thank you all for coming. This is about the fourth one of these sessions I've been to. And I won't give you the whole history of how my thought process on this is drifted, but tonight I'm getting pissed. And Lauren, I got a question for you. If we all understand, the purpose of government is to protect the people. Yeah. And I cannot understand how a legislator in the state of Pennsylvania could look his constituents in the eye and say, I just voted on something that's going to make you hard to get better if you get sick. Well, I mean, how did this happen? And I got answer that, and I got another question.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you heard about the Super Bowl trip that the legislators went on, but several of them got a full expense paid trip down to the Super Bowl or something of that nature. I don't remember the exact details, but it was in the newspaper. And I totally agree with you, and that's what's written in our Constitution in Pennsylvania and in the United States, that government is ours, and we create government to secure our rights and our communities, and that's not what's going on. And so it's up to us to figure out what to do about it. I know in Pennsylvania we help people create stronger local ordinances, but many other people have different strategies that they may prefer to use. But I completely agree with you that our government is not acting in our best interests.
Well, it would seem to me a legal challenge would be a cakewalk for an attorney. Yeah, you're smiling. Don't answer. We don't want to hear it. The other thing is, we've heard from PhDs, we've heard from guys now who've won the equivalent of a Nobel Prize in this country. We've heard from attorneys, we've heard from physicians, and there's many fora like this going on in the state, and in many. This to me would be a jaw-dropping episode of 60 Minutes. This would be another Aaron Brockovich movie someday, and I'm just wondering why it's regional attention and not national attention. I mean, I don't know the mechanism to bring something to the network's attention, but this would be an incredible, interview you, and there's probably 1,000 other guys like you, 10,000 who don't have the courage to do what you're doing. Yeah.
There's a couple things that come to mind. Governments, we shouldn't fear our governments. Governments should fear the people. And we have, afraid, a fear of our government right now because they've been infiltrated by corporate lobbyists, and corporations actually run this country. So I don't think there's any question of that. And I think more and more people are becoming aware of it and are willing to stand up and speak out on it. And everywhere I go, I hear that reiteration of corporate control in our government. So I think we are facing a watershed time in history, and that's why we're participating. That's why I think this passion exists in the guts of so many people today. So is there another question?
Actually,
and I'm going to try.
He had a little bit of a response to this gentleman's question, I think.
That's where it was gonna go. But yeah, it's hit and miss on the media too. Like cyclone burnt down 3 rigs out there in Parachute area. You only got one news flash, 6 o'clock. I watched it burn from the top of the hill all week long.
Parachute, Wyoming.
Colorado.
Or Colorado. Yeah.
Garfield County.
Woman here in the blue sweatshirt. Would you please introduce yourself too, please?
I'm Iris Marie Bloom. I'm with Protecting Our Waters, also from Pennsylvania. And I wanted to thank Mac and Joe for all the traveling you're doing and speaking out and all the courage that takes. And have a moment to thank Randy, who is not here because he's so sick. And just a couple of things quickly. People are asking, what about Pennsylvania? We do have, we're delivering over 100,000 petitions for a moratorium in Harrisburg, which is the largest number of petitions on anything that's been taken to Harrisburg in a decade. This coming Tuesday, Mac will be there. Randy will be there if he's well enough. Y'all come from New York to swell the crowd if you want. It's hard to get a big crowd on a Tuesday, and we've had 10 demonstrations so far in April, so people are getting a little bit tired, so come on down. In terms of how that gag order got into that law, it was Pennsylvania Environmental Council that inserted it, and people should know that, because PEC takes money from the gas drillers, and they have also sat down with the gas drillers and said, we're going to set up this Center for Sustainable Shale Development, which is this fluff kind of certificate program that the big industry, Chevron and Shell and so on, have sat down with organizations like Pennsylvania Environmental Council. So we have that problem as well. And I'm coming to my question. So related to that, we have a problem also in Pennsylvania. We don't have our medical societies speaking out. We don't have, even the breast cancer groups are saying the industry is fine. And I mean, it's ridiculous. So I'd like to hear the success story of how the New York Medical Society took such a strong stand.
And before that happens, I'd like to recognize Iris Marie Bloom, who's a heroine in Pennsylvania.
It was education and advocacy on the part of several of us in the medical profession who took the time to write letters to Governor Cuomo, spend time in Albany, and speak to the press, speak at fora like this. So I think getting the word out about the issue is very important, but also going to the people. I spoke to the Medical Society of Sullivan County, where I live. And subsequently, those physicians signed on to a number of our letters. So you actually have to go to where the doctors practice. They have very little time. When we got the signatories to our individual letters, it was by personal referral. Somebody knew a doctor and they asked them to sign on to our letter. And that's how we accumulated the number of doctors that we did. In this final letter, all of our letters, by the way, are on our website that Sandra, Mary, and I founded, which is called Concerned Health Professionals of New York. And all of our letters from the medical profession, documented and delivered to the governor, are there. So please, continue to share the information with your doctors. They need to have that information just as much as the average citizen.
Okay, here, Bonnie, and
Just one more thing. We, through Physician Scientists and Engineers for Healthy Energy, we have a CME course for medical professionals now that was done with the Medical Society of the State of New York. And so we invite anybody to take a look at it, but doctors and nurses can actually get continuing medical education credits for taking this course.
Okay, I just have a question about Article 13. About 2 years ago, I live in...
Who are you, Peter?
Peter Gamba, Committee Preserve the Finger Lake. Sorry about that, I forgot my name. About 2 years ago in the town of Jerusalem in New York, up in Yates County, I was driving down a road about 4 or 5 miles from my house, and they were cleaning out an old vertical well. And they had a big sign there. I think it said, hydrogen sulfide, stay away. Okay? And I drove by, took pictures of it, I have pictures of it, and the people working on it, the people working on the rig had no equipment on and everything else, but there was a sign that said, hydrogen sulfide, stay away. Now the question I have to you is, if I am an employee there, and there's a big sign telling the community to stay away hydrogen sulfide, why can't I go to a doctor and say, I've been poisoned by hydrogen sulfide? And oh, by the way, is that under Article 13 where no one can talk about it? It's a public piece of information, and if I'm working on a rig and I know what chemicals are in there, why can't I tell the doctor, these are the chemicals I've been exposed with? That doesn't give him any power, and I mean, it gives the patient all the power. So I'm telling you, fix me for hydrogen sulfide. Can that be kept secret? That was my question.
Okay, so it's like, some of that might be better addressed to the doctor. But it is a very complex question. The way the gag rule under Act 13 works is it applies to the trade secret and confidential proprietary information. As far as something on a sign, I'm not sure. But the part that I didn't get to go into today is the other piece that was inserted in, which is called the chemical disclosure part, but I like to really just call it the chemical non-disclosure part, because it only applies to a very small segment of the actual putting of the fracturing fluid in the ground. In fact, the disclosure part only applies to the chemicals that get put in the fluid that go in the ground. Whereas typically you expect to see exposure once it's come out via an impoundment pit, a frac tank, a truck overturning, or evaporation. For instance, out in the West, they will use large evaporators to evaporate impoundment pits full of frac water, is what we've seen. So as far as the gag rule, it applies to the trade secret and the confidential proprietary information, which under the law can actually be kind of a broad umbrella. But it's like I said, I'm more familiar with the actual gag rule part than than this disclosure.
So just to make it clear is, since I'm an employee, I can't disclose what I think I've been exposed to the doctor, just like the doctor can't be. So it's everybody's gag.
Am I right? I'm not quite sure. Okay. Unfortunately, I'm a little less versed in some of the work in the OSHA stuff. Yeah.
I'm actually H2S certified, so the first thing you do is smell rotten eggs. Next thing you lose your senses, and next thing's death. So you're not going to be treatable. Bottom line.
I don't understand what you said, but that's okay.
Yep, and if you see that windsock, they always got a windsock on the end of your location there. So it turns whatever direction the wind's blowing. Run with it.
Or behind it.
Run
Bonnie,
to the wind.
Bonnie, I believe you were next.
Thank you. Bonnie Chalet from Chemung County here. I have a question for everybody in the audience. First of all, thank you very much for coming to speak tonight. I think it's been enlightening for all of us. But I would like to ask everybody, who has read Collateral Damage by Tara Micel here in the... Okay, a few. I would suggest that all of you read it. She is from Colorado. She wrote this book about 4 years ago of many of the problems. Tara Micel, M-E-I-X-E-L-L. And she's spoken locally as well. But she, 4 years ago, was talking about the health issues in Colorado. And I think it's really an eye-opener. So in addition to what we have heard tonight, Tara's book, Collateral Damage, is a good one for all of us to read so that we don't become collateral damage.
Susan, and then...
Susan Moulter, Horseheads. I think the audience would like to know why Joe is sitting back here instead of up front where he could be. He said just giving the presentation he gave earlier makes him cough and cough and cough. I think many of us have been fighting fracking for over 4 years, and we've been to many forums like this, and in every one we learn new things, as I did tonight from every single speaker. It's so rare. Well, excuse me, it's the first time I've ever heard a worker speak. And first I'll share one tiny thing that Joe said quietly in the next room. Just walking from his house to his mailbox, he can smell whatever's being emitted from the, was it compressor station or refinery? Refinery. He can smell it, and he can taste the metal taste in his mouth just walking from his house to his mailbox and back. I think none of us have any idea what the reality is that they are living with. And we need to take these stories to our legislators and our neighbors and pass them on. So I have a question for you, Mac.
Yes, ma'am.
You said that often somebody you worked for said, look the other way, or we'll take care of it. Yeah. Could you please give us 2 or 3 examples of what you were not supposed to see?
I don't know why they hired me for a rig worker. They should have hired me for a fireman, because that's all I did was put fires out. With one crisis or another, one way, just always something. Fluid spilling, where the frack tanks are, guys falling asleep in the truck. How many hours? I don't know. How many gallons went over the wall, down the hill? I don't know. Like I said, I told you guys, if it doesn't make the light of day, it never happened. What you guys hear about, I guarantee you, it's just a small percentage of what the real picture is. It is what it is. Like I said, they all, they want to show that they're, they're good, responsible stewards, and they're good neighbors, and they want to promote this healthy atmosphere of, we buy the kids baseball uniforms, we have big days where the town, they want to come meet everybody in the town and get to know us. We're really not bad, and they're good, man. They got a good PR machine. What can I tell you? They're good. And I know this, that before they come here, they do such research for years back to lay the structure that when they do come in, there's little to no resistance, because the people have been bought off. Everything's already laid. The infrastructure's already been laid. So that's why they just come in and basically do what they want. And, if they get a little resistance, nothing a little bit more money can't take care of.
So, Mac, is that sort of what the discussion is among the workers as they've talked about how that structure gets laid into a community?
Yeah, it's just, you see things, I mean, I just know how they are. I mean, I've worked with them. I've seen it, to look the other way, to, get rid of the report, play ball, just don't make any waves. Like I told you, the first guy told me, just volunteer for everything, never say no, and you'll do good. And, and that's...
Sounds like a successful military person, I think.
Yeah, I would have been on any elite unit, buddy.
Back here in black, and then over here.
Evening, folks. Craig Stevens in Pennsylvania. I'll make a statement first. We got tired of waiting for our elected officials, so they're not showing up. So I went to Harrisburg a month ago and started asking the senators to come that represent you guys. Yesterday, Vera and I toured with
Larissa.
Dr. Durska. She was awesome yesterday, and here's Newsday today. That was just yesterday. Senator Carlucci, quote, this is why we did it. Following a trip to hydrofracking sites in Pennsylvania this week, State Senator David Carlucci says he will push even harder for health and environmental studies to be conducted in New York. Also on that trip was Senator Perkins and Senator Katchik. She's pretty new. Just so you know, I have 17 others that have communicated with us that want to come. That's 20. That's 1/3 of the senators that represent the state of New York. Here's why they're coming. You know why they're coming? Because I told them our elected officials have never come to communicate with us. I'm doing it for another reason, because we're going to go to Harrisburg next week. The people that are going to go, we're going to call out our own elected officials and say, you won't even show up, but senators from other states will come. So and I want to shout out my new buddies, Lee, I met when I spoke a while ago to be here, and Mac, and Randy, who's not here, and Joe, and Dr. Druska, who has been so awesome and helpful, and Lauren Williams, thank you for bringing a legal perspective. My question is to all of you. I saw what was happening 3 years ago. It's all I've been with this. And we tried to get the legislative bodies involved in Pennsylvania. It was impossible. New York, my mom's from Oswego. I'm a 5th-generation New Yorker, so I thought I better come up and see what we can do about stopping it here. But I'll tell you, I decided this wasn't a political issue. It's not one at all. That's why I brought Arun Gandhi down from Rochester to get involved. That was the Peace Weavers and myself, because we thought we'd just make this into a good old-fashioned human rights, civil rights, and peace movement, and it's working. So I want you all to contact your senator that represents you and your representatives and tell them, have they come and seen it yet? Because that's what we're calling it. And Dr. Drska, I would ask you, what you did yesterday with the other ladies that came, Susan and everybody else, and Jill, what did you see yesterday that you hadn't seen before by coming, and why should most of the people in this room that haven't done it come down and see it for themselves?
You know, we talk about the magnitude, or I speak about the magnitude of this, but seeing it really live, you all took us to a compressor station, you took us to a drilling site that was just starting, and then you took us to that huge multi-pad site with lots of staging areas. We passed 6 trucks, beautiful shiny blue and red trucks, very nice and clean, and they said freshwater and residual waste on them. So we wanted to know where they were going. So we were standing with the senators at the staging area with the large green containers that were all connected and that had some waste in them, and these trucks that were obviously empty because their middle wheels were up, so they weren't laden with some fluid as yet. They were all backing up into these green containers, and they said fresh water, the next one said residual waste, and then residual waste, and then fresh water, and then residual waste again. And Vera has pictures of it, and the senators can testify to that as well. They were all getting the same stuff, so I don't know what it was that they were getting, but whether trucks were leaving that said fresh water and trucks that said residual waste, whatever it was the same thing.
Okay, we've got a question over here, John.
I'm going to hand the mic, but I want to say, Iris, Vera, and Hillary, you're my heroes here. Why are the women standing up and not the men? Come on, guys. Stand up and take care of this.
Hi, John Kesich from Tioga County, Pennsylvania, and I wanted to mention that this Thursday, May 2nd, there's going to be a hearing down in Harrisburg chaired by some Democratic representative, I don't remember who.
With Holly.
Thank you. And I would really love for any or all of the presenters tonight to go down there and tell your stories to them if you can. And
I will be testifying. I've been asked to testify.
Great.
I will get my 8 to 10 minutes, and I will be standing between the legislators and their lunch. But I was asked to go down.
Thank you.
Is there a question, John? Do you have a question?
Not really, but I do have one other announcement. Anybody who has a Twitter or a Facebook account who can't come down Monday, there's a thunderclap in Harrisburg, and you can find out about that by going to Google Groups and searching for Harrisburg thunderclap. And basically what that is a bunch of people on social media sign up for this thing, and then messages are sent out automatically, synchronized to the legislators. Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming.
Okay, could you, this man right up here, and please restrict your comments, and let's ask some questions. We've got these people here tonight. They don't often come to the area, so let's restrict it to questions and not statements, please.
Okay, I'm Frank. I'm from Yates County, Penn Yan. First of all, I'd like to say that, this sounds like a movie that I watched one day with Steven Seagal on Deadly Ground, because that's what it is. But my question is to Lauren. I'm thinking about how this law thing works, and particularly I'm looking at it as saying that we're pretty much in a situation where New York, for all of us, that we need a an attorney too to help us then, wouldn't we? And basically,
I don't know if I quite.
in other words, what I'm saying is if we're really going to fight hard and we want to fight and stop these people from doing whatever they want to do, shouldn't we have some kind of legal backup?
I mean,
The legal
it's
backup.
definitely helpful. I know the Columbia Law Clinic is actively involved in helping folks, and I know that Deb Goldberg at Earth Justice is actively involved as well.
Okay.
But it helps to have interdisciplinary, to have your scientists, to have everybody together. Sharing the information, this is one reason why the gag rule is a problem in Pennsylvania, to share information, to develop different options, to come up with different strategies. For example, in Pennsylvania, we work with people to develop stronger zoning to protect their communities. Some people take the route of appealing permits. Other people choose different routes. So it's definitely helpful. It definitely gives you a different perspective. And I think that's about all I have on that.
All right, well, you answered the question. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to entertain one more question. Betty.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but is
Your name is?
Oh, you know.
Shall I introduce you? This is Betty Egg from Elmira.
I just give him a hard time, sorry. With the impact fees in Pennsylvania, right, is this because, was that because communities and counties were hurting because they weren't getting money from the gas industry, and that's why the counties have to go along with a uniform set of zoning in order to get the impact money? Is that?
Let me dispel the myth associated with the connection between the ordinances and the impact fee. There is no connection between the chapter on local ordinances and the chapter on the impact fee. Not everybody in the state who has zoning is subject to these uniform as one-size-fits-all zoning components of Act 13. Not everybody gets the money from Act 13. So for people, for instance, so the impact fee only applies, I believe it only applies, it's been some time since I've looked at the provision, applies to unconventional wells, which has a very specific definition in the law. It doesn't apply to pipelines, it doesn't apply to compressor stations, and it doesn't apply to processing facilities. But all those facilities and unconventional wells, conventional wells, impoundment pits are covered under the zoning piece. So regardless of whether you're getting any money from the impact fee or not, you're subject to the zoning restrictions in Act 13.
See. And the other question is, I know Governor Corbett said a while back that he asked about force pooling. He said he didn't believe that anybody should be forced to have their land as part of a drilling unit, like we have compulsory integration here. And he said he thought it was not good. He thought it was too much like eminent domain, and he said he would never approve it. What is the story? Do you have force pooling now, or?
Not for the Marcellus Formation.
Okay.
We have an oil and gas conservation law that's been around for years and years in Pennsylvania, but it only applies to certain formations like below a certain level. I believe the Marcellus is above it, so there's no force pooling for Marcellus wells.
But there are for other strata?
Well, so I believe it has to be a formation below the Onondaga, and the Marcellus is above that formation. So pretty much, unless you're drilling a really, really deep well, which at this point, to our knowledge, I think I honestly don't know the extent of the Utica. I think it's underneath
Yes, it is.
the Marcellus, so there's a possibility we could get into that, but I haven't seen that yet.
Well, I'd like to thank you all for coming, and if you have additional questions, I'm going to try and get these people home. This is the third leg of a third forum in a row, and I know they're all sleepy and want to get to bed, but if you've got a quick question, I'm sure they might entertain that. So thank you very much.